What? Bang!
Whoa! Wrestling podcast. Just when they think they got the answers, I change the question.
Rep screwed rep.
Yeah.
Woo! Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Can he do it? Unbelievable.
Too hot to handle and too cold to hold. And I am Macho King Savage.
Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty. I said WWE stands for. It's me, Austin. I will never retire.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Hey, look, are you sick and tired of dropping, good Lord, $50, $60, $70, $80, $100 sometimes for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? You gotta stop doing it. Instead, Wrestler Unstoppable, available totally free. Go to app.wrestlerunstoppable.com online where you can create a wrestler, sign contracts, get into storylines, headline PLEs, even build your own corporation from the ground up, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now, totally free. Once again, that's app.wrestlerunstoppable.com. Hey, look, if you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts of my good buddy John down in Texas, then you got to pop over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. We got a loyalty rewards program that is extra special this month. If you are a $10 a month contributor, you get to co-host a show with me. $5 a month contributor, get entered into a drawing to also host an episode with myself. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, something you want us to touch on in the future episode, you gotta let me know through the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line, 267-642-1160, and I will get to those questions, comments, and concerns in a future episode. Tonight, we are going to touch on everything that went down on SmackDown. Before we get to SmackDown, there's a couple things in the news we have to address. One, Jordynne Grace. Where in heaven's name is Jordynne Grace? It's been a month since she's even been on the main event. It's been even longer since we saw her on SmackDown. We are talking about one of the most premier women's talents in the world. This young lady went from being a very solid wrestler to really honing in and toning up her body, getting her moveset down, and becoming one of the most phenomenal female talents that we've seen in quite some time. And WWE does everything they can to get her to leave TNA Wrestling and come into their brand. If you remember, she was at two different Royal Rumbles before signing a full-time deal with WWE. The shock when she came in as TNA Knockouts champion. And then you finally get her to the WWE. You start her in NXT, which was a fine run. I have no problem with her NXT run, except maybe she should have got the NXT Women's Championship much sooner and all that kind of fun stuff. And then you finally move her to the main roster, and the word coming out is they have nothing for her. Why do you bring somebody to the main roster if you don't have a year's worth of ideas already put together? This is the problem with WWE right now. Everything sounds good on paper, all this depth of talent they have, and let's be honest, their talent roster right now is as deep as it has ever been. I was actually having a conversation on social media the other day. There's a gentleman who has a website that he posts all these old match cards from the 80s, NWA, WWF, stuff like that, AWA cards. And what I always thought was interesting was the NWA and AWA cards are always super stacked. The WWF cards look like a whole bunch of television squash matches until you get to like the last two matches are super solid. That's when you bring Jordynne Grace to the main roster and you have nothing for her, when you have the depth of talent you have right now, it's a disgrace, because we're not talking about 1984 when WWE's cards were like Salvatore Bellomo versus Rowdy Roddy Piper. We need something for all the premium talents to be doing, and Jordynne Grace is one of the best in the world. It is insulting that we haven't seen her do something more substantial on the main roster. No call, absolutely inexcusable. And this is the problem. Someone as talented as she is would be a huge, huge signing anywhere. And the way they do talent cuts in this company, and word was when she signed with WWE that she got main roster money from the get-go, tells me they're paying her a good chunk of change to do nothing. Maybe she's one of the people who took a pay cut. I don't know. Hopefully not. But at some point, you're going to take a phenomenal talent like her and she's going to become disgruntled and ask for a release. Some people are not content just collecting a paycheck and sitting at home. The word was she's shown up to TV tapings, have been sent home, not used, all that kind of stuff. How long does that go on before she gives up on the company? Just saying. Bron Breakker, another one not happy with WWE right now, especially his creative. He wants out of the vision. You know, this young man, look, a year ago, technically, if you want to really think about it, it's even more than a year ago. We saw him tearing it up in NXT. We saw him take the NXT championship. We saw him get into a tag team with Baron Corbin. We've seen him come up to the main roster, become Intercontinental Champion. And it really looked like when he joined the Vision, right after WrestleMania, when he lost the Intercontinental Championship, that the reason he lost it was to prime him for a shot at a main event spot at WrestleMania 42. And word early was that was the plan. He was going to face either CM Punk or Seth Rollins. Preferably Seth Rollins because of the injury situation we didn't see coming. But all that went out the window. One, he wasn't even on the card. And I get it. He was injured. But he showed up at the card and got physical anyways because he was cleared before the card happened. You could have booked this match when he was getting close to being cleared. And if something happened last minute, you could have done an angle in the back of the building and switched it up at the last minute. Instead, we got no Bron Breakker at Mania. And now he has fizzled as much as anybody on the main roster ever has who's been called up. It's an indictment on Triple H and his team's commitment to great creative process. We keep seeing the same crap week in and week out. No excitement. And here's the thing that really gets me about Bron Breakker. When they did their European tour a few weeks ago, and I mentioned it on the show a few weeks ago, there was a moment where there was a dark match between Seth Rollins and Obafemi going against The Vision, Bron Breakker and Austin Theory. And in that match, Bron and Obafemi ended up in the ring together, and the place came unglued. It was electric. You can find the video on social media. Go out there, take a look, YouTube, something like that. Yeah, I'm sure you'll find it. This is a feud that needs to happen, and it needs to happen probably in the next 12 months. But instead, you've basically taken Bron Breakker and all the heat and all the momentum he's had and shoved him into an ice bath. He is colder than cold and has no momentum right now. That's sad. That is pathetic for WWE's creative. And I love wrestling. I love WWE. I love AEW. I love TNA. I love CMLL. I love AAA. I love New Japan. I love it all. But this, gotta call a spade a spade. This is terrible booking. Back-to-back talents that we're talking about right now. And it's something they have to fix, and they gotta fix soon. This is the kind of stuff that drives people out of your company. In the meantime, let's get to some current conversation. Randy Orton has been gone since WrestleMania. He was supposed to do some meet and greets at FanFest. He did not. They pulled those. They refunded the people their money. People were like, oh my goodness, is something going on? Is he injured? But then word is he is in New York City, and there is speculation that he will show up at Saturday night's main event for something, for some reason. I don't know what they do with him, because at this point, is he going to be a heel? Because the last time we saw him, he was facing Cody, and he was a bad guy. You know how popular he is. Does he come back as a babyface and just instantly code switch and throw away all that heel work he did back in March and April? I don't know. I think the fans are going to love seeing him so much that they're going to cheer for him no matter what they do. So maybe they have to turn him babyface again, but then that defeats the whole purpose of turning him heel in the first place. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully he does something. I want to see him at SummerSlam doing something of substance. I just don't know where he fits on the card, especially with such little time to build with it just over 2 weeks away. The one thing that they do need to get on, and I'm going to make a prediction right now, and I'm going to make the prediction for a reason. Saturday night's main event, in the four-way that you'll hear me talk about when we get into SmackDown, we're going to probably see some major outside interference that's going to lead to the finish of that match, which is going to complicate SummerSlam for me. Because, as we get into SmackDown, it was announced tonight that there's going to be the tag team match, the main event of Saturday night's main event between Gunther and Sami Zayn going against CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, that if Gunther and Sami Zayn win, they will be added to the World Championship match at SummerSlam with Punk and Rhodes. I'm fine with the stipulation, but here's the thing. We got to get this Gunther Aldis thing going, and all the websites today, all the news sites, all the dirt sheets are all saying the same thing. Nick Aldis versus Gunther is now official and booked. It's on the card for SummerSlam, but we've got nothing to show it. Nothing at all. Tonight, SmackDown went down. Nick Aldis was nowhere to be found. He could have easily shown up in the main event. Now, I know why he didn't. You want to build heat for this, tag team match tomorrow night. But this is the perfect way to kick off. Gunther and Aldis is Saturday night's main event. At the end of that match, Aldis is going to cost Gunther his opportunity at the World Championship match at SummerSlam to further that storyline that he's the one who's always holding Gunther back. He's going to basically come out and be like, you know what? You always say that I'm costing you. Now I'm going to cost you. If you're going to say I'm doing it, I'm going to do it. And I love that idea if that's what they go with. But all the reports are saying that match is official. So that being said, let's get into SmackDown tonight. It started out the show. They have a little bit of a recap. They add the stipulation to open the show with Gunther, Cody Rhodes coming out. They make that fatal four there. That tag team match could potentially turn the main event of SummerSlam into a fatal four-way. I loved all of this. I thought it was good character work. It makes a lot of logical sense. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. After that, we get Finn Balor versus Tama Tonga. There's some outside interference from Tama Tonga at the end of the match. Finn Balor, shockingly to me, picks up the win over Tama Tonga. And I'm not sure how to feel about Balor right now because for so long, he basically felt like an upper mid-carder. But now, this makes me feel like they want to give him a push, but just aren't sure how to do it. I have no problem with him feuding with, I don't call them the MFTs anymore, but basically the MFTs that are now rejects. If they want to feud with them, that's fine. I really would love to see them tie Shinsuke back in with Finn to go against the two of them. And that should have been on Saturday night's main event also. That would have been great because I don't see any other way for Balor to get on the card for SummerSlam. So that would have been fine. But this is a solid match. I mean, especially Tama Tonga, who doesn't move around like a cruiserweight. Finn Balor picks up the win. And then we got to address earlier today on X, Nick Aldis is basically being removed as SmackDown General Manager for now. And Adam Pearce was taking over the duties for tonight, and because of that, he announced that due to the injury to Rhea Ripley, and this was a post he put on X, that they are going to crown an interim women's world champion, which I've never seen them do that in WWE before. That's a UFC thing. WWE, if you can't defend your belt, you surrender your championship. Everybody up to this point has. Even that's been hokey because, when Indy Hartwell was the NXT Women's Champion, she came to the main roster, they made her vacate the Women's NXT Championship. But when Becky Lynch was a main roster wrestler and won the NXT Championship, they didn't make her vacate it to come back to the main roster and wrestle. They just let her do it. And then she eventually lost the NXT Women's Championship down there. In this situation, Rhea Ripley, if she can't go, and she hasn't wrestled since basically Mania, shortly after Mania, then take the title off her. She could have her win it later. But it doesn't make sense, this interim thing, unless you're going to do that from now in perpetuity for every championship. Otherwise, you're playing favorites. Between her and Liv Morgan, we've got two women's champions. Neither one's defended their championship pretty much since Mania. Neither one of them have wrestled very many matches at all. Obviously, Rhea, nothing, and Liv, very little. So what the heck are we doing with our women's division? It's pathetic. Again, going back to that booking. So now it's on X. Interim women's champion going to be crowned. It's going to be a ladder match, and 5 women are going to qualify over the next couple of weeks. We're going to get a couple of those matches tonight. They actually go from that making sure everybody knows about that announcement into Tiffany Stratton versus JC Jane to be one of the 5 women in the ladder match to crown that champion. And Tiffany Stratton ends up coming out on top over JC Jane. I hated this. JC Jane, when she came to the main roster, was on fire, and she got over so fast. And they were talking about expediting her plans, having her feud with Rhea Ripley, possibly at SummerSlam. So what better opportunity than right now to not have Tiffany Stratton go to this match, since she's the Women's United States Champion anyways, and shouldn't be in the world title match if she's the U.S. Champion. Instead, they should have had JC Jane go in, and I will go so far as to say JC Jane should have won. And that way she could have faced Rhea Ripley for a champion versus interim championship match. Now, JC Jane's not going to be in the match because she loses to Tiffany Stratton, which I think is a terrible idea. That being said, solid match. The ladies are talented. They really are. Just not thrilled with the way they're booking it. We did have a vignette play from Baron Corbin. This was some of his best mic work I've ever heard him do. I was really impressed with everything he said. He really almost played like a tweener role Like he was out for Trick, which would make him a babyface, but he mellows collateral damage, which would make him a heel. So he's really playing that tweener role, and I'm okay with that. And they actually transition into an interview with Trick Williams and Carmelo in the back. A lot of back and forth banter there. It was very convoluted. Trick insulting Carmelo. And what I really hated about this promo was Trick Williams is like, hey, how long have you been on the main roster and you've done nothing? Well, let's talk about that. Since coming to the main roster, Carmelo has done as much as Trick has. They both have done one thing and one thing only. They've both won the United States Championship. That's it. So if you make fun of Melo for only doing that and that's all you've done, it makes you look like a hypocrite. And if that's what they're going for, then fine. But otherwise, I thought it sounded stupid. Just my opinion. From there, Jade Cargill, Nia Jax, the next qualifying match. This match was utter trash. They were off. They weren't in sync. Jade Cargill tried to hit a pump kick to start the match and missed by a mile. The match does not go very long before I almost said Ric Flair. Oh my goodness. Before Charlotte Flair shows up and she beats up Michin on the outside and B-Fab, which I had no problem with. The distraction would have been fine. But then she gets in the ring and causes the disqualification so that Jade Cargill is going to go to SummerSlam for that women's interim championship. Why? That doesn't even make sense. What are we talking about here? A few weeks ago, we were talking about, Charlotte going against Jade. That is impossible now. Jade's going into that match. I wanted to see Jade and Charlotte. It's what they've been teasing the whole time. And I don't want it to be a TV match. That's a pay-per-view level match. And instead, we're stuck with this nonsense. So, that's what happens. Charlotte Flair cost Nia Jax her opportunity by attacking Jade Cargill. She ends up getting laid down when first Nia splashes her in the corner while she's trash-talking Jade. Then Jade comes in the ring and drops her on her face. And I just hated all of it. I even hate the stuff they did with Alexa Bliss with breaking the arm. We all know from a few years ago that she has this funky ability to contort her arm and make it look like it's broken backwards when it's not. And so we all know that. So running that angle back a second time in her career is kind of stupid and repetitive, and I guess they're assuming, like a lot of WWE executives have, Vince McMahon included, and many others since, that people have short-term memory. We don't. Most people who watch WWE on the regular don't forget anything. Heck, especially if you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening to me, you're a diehard. You know all this stuff. So, just saying, a little hokey for me. From there, we have Gunther in the back. He's talking some trash. And Candice LeRae rolls up with Johnny Gargano still planking, which is absolutely ridiculous. She's talking about how they got to win their match at Saturday Night's Main Event because they want Sammy to win, because Sammy's, remember, the one who's helping Johnny Gargano try to break out of his trance or whatever this stupid storyline is. And then after Gunther walks away, which was kind of strange to begin with, he almost tried to pull off a comedic character and then walked away, and that just doesn't suit him. But then Blake Monroe attacks Candice LeRae, introduces herself, tells Johnny Gargano he needs a haircut. I'm fine with Monroe being violent and hostile in the back, but it's been months now that she's been called up to the main roster and hasn't had a legit match. Can we get the lady out there and have a match? And where were some of the other talents? Where's Chelsea Green at this week? I don't know. There's so much that's missing every week from a company that has so much talent. I'm going to do a whole nother episode on that stuff because it's so frustrating. From there, War Raiders versus Fraxium. And look, if you're going to build the War Raiders for a tag team championship versus tag team championship match, AAA versus SmackDown, whatever, WWE World Tag Team Championship, then you cannot let Fraxium get in this much offense. There were plenty of moments in this match, which, by the way, this was easily the match of the night. Fantastic in-ring work from both teams, but that's the problem. You're trying to build these guys as legit threats to the World Tag Team Champions, and they almost lost to Fraxium, and the match went long. So for me, I would have had them be more dominant. Now, of course, they pick up the win. They beat Fraxium, and they're going to probably go on to have that tag team unification, especially with Damian Priest now being in AAA as well as in WWE. So I expect that to happen, but I don't know. I love the match. I thought, again, best match of the night. But I really think the War Raiders should have been put over more strong. And then, of course, we get to the back. There's some conversation between Punk and Cody Rhodes, whether Punk is going to be at ringside, whether he's not. And that goes on for way too long. And then we get right into the match. Gunther comes out. Rhodes comes out. Rhodes attacks Gunther as he's coming down the rampway. The match is physical. It's solid. I hate the thing they do where they do the commercial break, and while they're doing it, they do the picture-in-picture side-by-side, because some great action was taking place during that, and you could barely see it, comparatively speaking, to the full-size screen match. And I would have liked to have seen some of that stuff, because it was great. A lot of the chops that people love hearing them ring out throughout the building, you couldn't hear because you were listening to a commercial. Terrible timing, at least for what they were doing in the match. The match gets interesting. Punk at the end is cheering on Cody, and Sami Zayn runs out from the back, who's been absent since losing his championship. He attacks Punk. Cody attacks Sami. It turns into a 4-way brawl and a disqualification, and it really brings some intrigue to the match for tomorrow night. Gonna have to wait and see how things play out, but no matter what happens, this was actually pretty solid stuff. So, I, again, love the match with the War Raiders for Axiom. I really did enjoy the match with Cody and Gunther. They seem like they could be almost like a Roman and Seth thing over many years if they do it correctly. SmackDown overall, some good stuff, some great stuff, some stuff that leaves me shaking my head. I'm really frustrated with, having Stratton and Jade be the first two people in that women's interim world championship thing when they just had their feud, and we were expecting a different feud for Jade. I don't know. And Nia's going to get another shot next week to qualify by wrestling Charlotte. So I'm sure they'll probably put Charlotte into the match. It'll be Charlotte, Jade, and Stratton, which is even funkier with all the dynamics that go on there. But I don't know. Very, very strange stuff. I can't wait to see what they do, but I think there's certainly things they could have done better tonight, and we'll have to wait and see how this plays out over the next 2 weeks, and how things run down tomorrow night at Saturday night's main event, when there's a whole lot that may go down that could come as a shock. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, to Suno for creating the music and sound effects we use in our show. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with Sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beezle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and picking up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college, university life, maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life educational planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking some time with us tonight. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a good one.